You can earn six figures and still feel broke. You can work overtime, budget hard, even invest, and still feel like your money disappears the second it hits your account. Why? Because there's one cash flow mistake even the smartest people make. And until you fix it, no income level will ever feel like enough. Today, we're breaking it down so you can stop spinning your wheels and finally build wealth that lasts. A few years ago, there was a man named Carlos, software engineer, sharp guy, made over $130K a year. Everyone thought he was killing it. But Carlos had a secret. At the end of every month, his account was dry. He didn't have credit card debt, didn't spend wildly. But somehow, no savings, no progress, just stress. One day, his little daughter asked him, "Daddy, when do you get to stay home?" And that hit different. He realized something most people never do. High income doesn't mean high control. So Carlos went back to the basics. He tracked every dollar, built a cash flow system, and within 2 years, he wasn't just earning well, he was finally keeping it. The difference? Awareness. And that's what we're giving you today. This video is titled, "The Cash Flow Mistake That Keeps Smart People Broke," and it's based on the book Cash Flow for Dummies by Tage C. Tracy and John A. Tracy. Now, don't let the word dummies fool you. This book lays out cash flow in a way even CFOs respect, because cash flow isn't just a business concept, it's the lifeline of your personal finances. And once you understand it, everything changes. If you're new here, welcome to Trip to Wealth. This is where we simplify money truths, expose wealth traps, and give you real tools to build financial freedom on your own terms. So if that sounds like your kind of journey, hit subscribe and let's grow together. Let's start with a brutal truth. High income does not equal financial stability. That's the illusion that traps countless professionals, especially the smart, ambitious ones. You get the raise, land the promotion, and suddenly there's more money than ever before. And yet, somehow, the pressure doesn't ease. The bills still pile up. The stress lingers. Why? Because while your income grew, your cash flow didn't. And in Cash Flow for Dummies, the authors hammer this point home. It's not about how much you make. It's about how well you manage the movement of money in and out of your life. Smart people get caught in this trap all the time. They assume that more income will solve everything. But what they don't see is that expenses have a nasty habit of scaling with salary. You start with a used car, then it's a lease. A small apartment, then a mortgage. Before long, every extra dollar is already spoken for. The flow is reactive, not intentional. And when a surprise hits, a car repair, a medical bill, a slow month at work, suddenly you're out of liquidity. Not because you're irresponsible, but because you're operating without a cash flow strategy. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you actually tracked how much cash moved in and out of your life? Weekly, not just monthly. If the answer is never, you're not alone. Most people obsess over their income and ignore their flow, but that's like celebrating how much water you poured into a leaky bucket. Until you fix the leaks, more income just means more overflow and more stress. Here's the quote that flips the switch. You can't out-earn bad cash flow habits. That's from Cash Flow for Dummies. And it's not a metaphor. It's a warning. Because until you understand how money moves, not just how much you make, you'll always feel like you're behind. Now let's move on to the next shift. How real wealth is built not by chance, but by mastering the difference between cash flow and profit. There's a dangerous confusion that trips up smart individuals and even experienced business owners. They think profit is the same as cash flow. It's not, and that mistake has tanked more bank accounts and businesses than any market crash or interest rate hike ever could. According to the book Cash Flow for Dummies, understanding this distinction is one of the foundational pillars of long-term financial success. Because profit might look good on paper, but cash flow is what keeps the lights on. So what's the difference? Profit is what's left after your income exceeds your expenses on a spreadsheet, but cash flow is what you actually have on hand. It's the movement of money in and out of your life. You can be profitable and still be broke. Think about that. You can earn $200,000 a year and still feel constantly behind because your timing is off. Your bills are due now, but your payments don't come in for another 2 weeks. Your account is dry even when your business or your job looks successful from the outside. Let's paint a picture that makes it crystal clear. Imagine you own a beautiful restaurant that turns a solid profit every quarter, but you can't pay your staff this week because your customers haven't settled their tabs yet. That's a cash flow crisis, one that profit can't solve. And now think about your personal finances. You might be doing well annually, but if your rent, your card payments, and your insurance all hit the same week and your account goes red, you've got a cash flow problem. Not a profit problem. In the book, the Tracys warn, profit is theory, cash is reality. And they're right. Cash flow is the heartbeat of your financial life. Without it, you're always gasping for air, even when your income says you shouldn't be. Now let's talk about the real fix, because the wealthy don't just understand cash flow, they design methods that protect it. Let's talk systems, because the wealthy don't guess when it comes to their cash flow, they track it with surgical precision. In Cash Flow for Dummies, the authors emphasize one core truth. The people who master cash flow don't wait until something breaks to fix it. They build a dashboard. They know what's coming in, what's going out, and, most importantly, when. This isn't about budgeting every coffee. It's about understanding your financial rhythm. Most people operate with a foggy sense of where their money is. They check their account balance and hope it's enough. But hope is not a system. And successful people? They don't rely on hope. They rely on clarity. That's why they use tools like a cash flow statement, either formally or intuitively. They map the timing of their income, their expenses, and their savings to avoid crunches before they happen. They aren't just reacting to money, they're leading it. Here's the uncommon insight. Cash flow isn't just about the amount of money you earn, it's about the timing of that money. You could be making 6 figures and still live in panic mode if all your bills hit before payday. But when you shift your thinking from, how much do I make, to, how does my money move? Everything changes. Let's get sarcastic for a moment. Of course, it makes perfect sense to pay off your credit card in full, the day after rent clears you out, or to schedule 3 auto payments right before your freelance payment actually lands. What could go wrong? Real wealth doesn't just happen by earning more. It happens when you control the tempo of your money. That's why the wealthy don't just look at net worth. They look at cash flow patterns. They automate savings on the day income hits. They avoid overlapping due dates. They even restructure payments to smooth out their months. Now let's explore how you can start applying these same strategies, step by step, to build your own cash flow system, no spreadsheet overload required. By now you know that guessing your way through cash flow doesn't work. But what's the fix? You don't need a finance degree, and you don't need to build a 12-tab spreadsheet from scratch. You just need one thing: visibility. And in Cash Flow for Dummies, the authors lay it out clearly. Clarity is power. The moment you can see your inflows and outflows lined up in front of you, the fog lifts. And suddenly what felt like chaos starts to look like a solvable puzzle. So here's a better question than, how much do I make? Ask, what can I count on? That means identifying your fixed income, your fixed expenses, and your predictable patterns. You might be surprised how many expenses hit like clockwork, and how many income streams don't. Once you understand the pattern, you can reverse engineer a strategy. Maybe you shift a bill by a week. Maybe you split a large expense into 2 smaller ones. Maybe you adjust your savings transfer to land the day after payday, not 3 days before. Small tweaks, big impact. Think about it this way. Managing cash flow is like tuning a guitar. If one string is off, the whole song sounds wrong. But once every part is aligned, the music works. The same goes for your money. It's not about perfection. It's about harmony. You don't need to get everything right, you just need to make it work together. Let's sprinkle a little bit of humor. Of course, the perfect time to realize your rent is due is the day after your impulse Amazon order ships. That's called freestyle finance, and it's a trap. Instead, the fix is boring and brilliant. Know your rhythm, automate what you can, review it once a week, and when in doubt, simplicity wins. Because overcomplicating cash flow is just another way to avoid taking control. Moving forward, let's talk about the illusion that trips up even the smartest professionals, the feeling that you have positive cash flow, when in reality, you're just floating. On paper, things look fine. Your income exceeds your expenses. You're not overdrafting. You're even saving a little. But the moment something unexpected happens, a car repair, a late payment, a drop in freelance income, everything crashes like a house of cards. Why? Because what you thought was profit was just timing. Cash flow. For Dummies calls this out clearly. Most people confuse profit with liquidity. Just because you made $8,000 this month doesn't mean you have $8,000 to spend. And just because your credit card hasn't hit its limit doesn't mean you're doing fine. That available balance isn't your success. It's just a delay in reality. And unless you understand the difference between money earned and money available, you're playing a dangerous game. Here's a subtle insight. Positive cash flow isn't when money comes in faster than it goes out. It's when you've structured your cash flow to absorb surprises, without panic, without debt, and without praying the check clears on time. It's stability with a buffer. Let's spice things up with a little edge. Nothing screams financial genius like buying concert tickets because you're ahead this month, then forgetting your insurance premium hits next week. Smart cash flow management means forecasting, not guessing. It means building a 30-day snapshot that shows not just your totals, but your flow. When does income actually hit your account? When do your bills leave? Are you prepared for gaps? One of the biggest lies in personal finance is that being profitable is enough. But as Tracy and Tracy explain, profit without liquidity is like having food in the freezer, but no way to cook it. Now, let's move into the core principle that separates reactive spenders from strategic builders, and how one simple shift in how you think about cash can change your entire financial trajectory. Most people treat cash flow like a receipt. It tells them what already happened. But the wealthy, they treat it like a blueprint. They don't just track cash flow, they position it. And that one shift changes everything. In cash flow. For Dummies, Tasia and John Tracy emphasize that knowing where your money goes isn't the same as directing where it should go. Most people look backward. Millionaires look ahead. Here's the difference. Tracking cash flow is reactive. You see a snapshot of how you've spent. But positioning your cash flow, that's proactive. It's when you give every dollar a job before it even arrives. You align your income with upcoming obligations, investment goals, and reserve buffers. You set your future up with intention, not with hope. Let's paint a picture that makes it crystal clear. Imagine your cash is water flowing through pipes. If you don't build the system right, that water leaks, floods, or stagnates. But if you design it with pressure points, shut-off valves, and flow regulators, you get consistency, predictability, control. That's what real cash flow positioning looks like. It's building a system that works even when life doesn't go as planned. And here's an uncommon insight most gurus won't tell you. Wealth isn't about how much flows through your life. It's about how much stays and where it stays. That's why the wealthy automate transfers to investment accounts, create multiple inflow buckets, and stagger major expenses across the month. They never let money sit idle, and they never let it vanish without a roll. Let's get brutally honest. If you're always surprised by bills, scrambling to cover gaps, or unsure if you can afford to save, your system isn't broken. You just don't have one yet. But the moment you stop being a tracker and become a positioner, everything shifts. Money starts working for you, not just passing through your hands. Moving forward, let's uncover the final rule that ties it all together, and the one cash flow discipline that transforms chaos into consistency for good. This is where most people quit. They build a simple cash flow system. They track expenses for a month or two, and then life happens. A job shift, an unexpected bill, a temptation they can't resist. The system breaks, and they never rebuild it. But here's the truth. The wealthy understand. Cash flow clarity isn't something you set once. It's something you commit to forever. In Cash Flow for Dummies, the authors stress that sustainable cash flow comes down to one unsexy word: maintenance. That's it. The difference between someone who constantly feels broke and someone who builds financial momentum isn't brilliance. It's a review. Weekly, monthly, quarterly. They revisit their system. They tweak. They rebalance. They keep it alive. Because when you stop paying attention to cash flow, it stops paying attention to you. Let me ask you this. When was the last time you sat down and looked at your full cash position? Not just your bank balance, but your obligations, timelines, and priorities. If you've never done that, don't feel bad. Most people haven't. But also, don't wait. Because clarity doesn't arrive. It's created. There's a quote I love that sums this up perfectly. Money flows to those who respect it. Respect isn't fear. It's awareness. It's consistency. It's designing a system that bends with life instead of snapping every time something shifts. The goal isn't to be perfect. It's to be prepared. And the more often you review your flow, the more confident and calm you'll feel, no matter what's happening around you. Now here's the final twist. When your cash flow is dialed in, every other piece of your financial life becomes easier. Saving, investing, growing, protecting, it all builds on that base. So if you want freedom, if you want peace, if you want to stop feeling behind, you don't need to earn more. You need to know your flow and never stop managing it. Now let's break it all down. Step-by-step guidance and one final message to help you start building lasting wealth, one intentional dollar at a time. Let's bring everything together. If you've made it this far, you've already done what most people never will. Look cash flow in the eye and say, "You're not going to control me anymore." That decision alone separates you from the majority. Now it's time to act on it. We started by revealing the core mistake that keeps even smart people broke: confusing income with clarity. It's not about how much money you make, it's about how well you direct it. Then we expose the habit of silent sabotage, spending without awareness. Every dollar that disappears without intention delays your future. We moved into the mindset of the wealthy, how they manage their cash flow like a system, not a sprint. They automate, they allocate, and they never forget that consistency beats complexity. You also saw how poor cash flow doesn't just hurt your wallet. It strangles your freedom, creates anxiety, and limits every opportunity ahead of you. But now you've learned how to reverse it. You start by tracking everything, yes, everything, without shame. Then you categorize, clarify, and systemize your spending based on your real priorities. You automate the essentials, protect the margins, and revisit your flow regularly, not reactively. Here's your first step. Look at the past 30 days. Where did your money actually go? Not where you think it went, but where it did. From there, build your baseline, then build your system. Because if you control your cash flow, you control your options. And if you control your options, you control your future. And if you found value today, I highly recommend watching my next video. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Also, feel free to leave your comment below. I appreciate your support. Until next time, Stay consistent, stay patient, and stay winning. See you in the next one, Money Magician.